Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for being here as always. And today we're doing a slightly different kind of video. I love these incredible cross-section books. My very first ever source book that I ever owned was a episode 1 cross-sections book by Darling Kinderly, DK Publishing. My mom was actually part of, she was like one of their individual resellers or dealers or whatever, so she got a couple of different free copies and stuff, and I got the episode 1 one for Christmas or my birthday or something in 1999, and I could not get my face out of it. And I finally got my incredible cross sections in the mail today. I got around to finally ordering it, and I thought that we could just take a look at it together, see all the interesting little bits. This is the first time I've opened it, and oh, I love the illustrations in here. And it just, there's so many little tidbits and stuff as to how things are laid out, and you get kind of a better sense about how moving around a ship works in this book. And you get some stuff that, like, I don't even know what this is. ATHH? Libertine? I know what the Radis is. Resistance Craft, okay. Canto Bight Police Speeder. Okay, those must have been like those like auto gyro looking things on Canto Bight. We know what the ITM-6 is, but yeah, like, what is an ATHH? Is that like the updated AT-ATs? And what in the hell is the Libertine? Is that the medical frigate? I don't know. And I love that about these books. You find out so much about how these ships work. Go check out Space Doc, by the way. If you're interested in this video, go check out Space Doc here on YouTube. The guy does incredible stuff across all different franchises, IPs, universes, whatever you want to call it. The Radis. Oh, yeah. And I'm not sure whether or not you guys are seeing this. I am shooting this with a 4K camera, but it just, like, the sense of scale. I'll just bring the book a little bit closer. You see all those individual rooms and stuff in there? That's insane. Like, it's hard to comprehend the scale of ships in Star Wars, especially when you're starting to talk about Eclipse classes, and Eclipse class Super Star Destroyers and Supremacy class, Mega Star Destroyer class. Ugh. Should have just been called the Supremacy class. But whatever, we're here. It's okay. New ownership. Originally named the Dawn of Tranquility, the Radis once formed part of the New Republic's home fleet, but was decommissioned early. A move made with one eye on treaties limiting heavy warships and another on being able to reduce Navy personnel. For the MC-85, so as opposed to the MC-80, like the Liberty and Stuff that we saw in the Battle of Endor, the Mon Calamari worked with a venerable Corellian engineering corporation to create interior and more amenable non-amphibious crew. 2 non-amphibious crew. This allowed the Resistance to avoid costly refits. Neato. You know, they're talking about the shields and how the structural integrity of them is incredibly high, and how it can withstand massive amounts of bombardment and stuff. And that's a really key factor in how Star Wars works to me. Like, you've got hyperdrives and the Force and, tractor beams and all that. And the capabilities of those things, unlike in hard sci-fi, the capabilities of those things is equivalent to whatever the plot demands. And I can understand people who find that distracting, but for me, it's always a fun revelation to find out that, this ship has incredibly ridiculously powerful defense shields. It's a very different approach that the New Republic had towards building its capital ships than, say, the Empire did. Memory of Sacrifice. The Radis was named in honor of Mon Calamari Admiral, who defied the nascent rebellion's political leaders and took it to a ragtag fleet to Scarif, blah, 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 sacrificing his Star Cruiser and his life. Okay, so we know for a fact that, yes, indeed, Admiral Radis's fish sticks now. Rest in peace, you brave Winston Churchill bastard. Ooh, this is something that I'm excited about. Okay, so it wasn't the medical frigate. Yeah, the medical frigate was the Anodyne. But this is something that I was really excited for. I've always wanted to know what the Starhawks were in the Aftermath trilogy, is where they were first mentioned. They're like apparently repurposed, like the New Republic melted down old Imperial Star Destroyers and made Starhawks out of them, but we haven't seen any yet. I thought we were hoping to see some of them in the Battlefront 2 campaign, but nope. They talk about them all the time, and they do orbital bombardments, but we don't actually get to see them. And I was hoping that the Ninka or these upgraded blockade runners were those, but they're not. And I'm a little disappointed with that, but I still love the idea. I'm a little confused as to how these wings work. Like, I love the look of them aesthetically, but I don't quite get, like, where is the passageway from the bulk of the ship and the wings, because these are clearly like compartments with turbo lasers and stuff. I don't quite know how you get from the main ship to either one of these wingtips. It's a little strange to me. And you got your Nebulon C's, Nebulon B. No, it says the Nebulon B frigate was built as an escort craft. Okay, yeah, so yeah, I was right. The Anodyne is a Nebulon C class. The updated version of the old medical frigate that we saw first time in Empire Strikes Back, right at the end. The Resistance fleet is barely worthy of the name. 4 capital ships, a handful of support craft, and a few squadrons of bombers and starfighters. Ugh, I love that so much about the Resistance. Like, you never really got exactly what the size of the rebellion was. I mean, you go from a few dozen starfighters in A New Hope to a massive military complex with a whole bunch of big old star transports and stuff. And then you go to Return of the Jedi and they have their own fleet. And yeah, okay, maybe they've been building up and stuff, but you never really got... I always felt like, oh, there might have been another base other than the Yavin 4 base. There might have been other places, but this is pretty much it. These 4 ships in The Last Jedi are it. That is the only light in the galaxy. Sure, there are probably some scouting parties and stuff and some sympathizers to the Resistance, but this is it. This is everyone. And it just, it raises the stakes so much more, even though places like ships like the Raddus have ridiculously powerful deflector shields. I wonder if that the ridiculously powerful deflector shields might actually do something with the whole holder maneuver or something. I don't know if that makes it more damaging when it hits something in hyperspace. I don't know, whatever. Resistance bombers, and of course it would be one of the sideways ones, so now I'm gonna have to go through it like this and deal with crazy amounts of weird viewing angles and whatever, but I love these. I absolutely adore these because they just remind me of... Try not to blind you guys with white hits. I very deliberately diffuse this so that then you're not getting any glare when it's down like this, but then it's sideways. But anyways, I love these Resistance bombers. The MG-100s, that's their designation, because they're basically B-29s. From World War II. I'll bring another picture up right here of what those look like. They're just big old heavy bombers, and I love that. I love that they're bringing that kind of craft into Star Wars, because Star Wars has always been, based on World War II era tech and World War II era styles of combat. So seeing a bomber like this is just incredible. Yes, now we get to look at the A-Wing. Yes, I'm so excited. I love the A-Wing in general. Yeah, okay, it looks a lot like the A-Wing from Return of the Jedi, but so I like the way the A-Wing looked in Return of the Jedi, and I like the look of this one better. The one in Return of the Jedi was kind of more stout. It was short and it was shortened and a little bit more, I don't know, plump. It was weird. But this looks so much more streamlined. You can't quite tell from the angle that it's at, but the nose of it is much more elongated and it's much flatter. It doesn't have it isn't kind of bulbous like the original A-Wing. It's much more like this. And I love the way that this looks. And I really wish if Tally had gotten more screen time. I need a Cobalt Squadron book, but about Tally. That would be exciting. You know what? Just give me a new X-Wing series. Just give me a new X-Wing series of books. Like what Aaron Alston and Michael Stackpole gave us. Please, Lucasfilm. I will buy all of the copies of that. Please. Because I love the stories of just these fighter jacks. I mean, you got this massive cast that you can do tons of different things with, especially when you're in if you're following a rebellion, sort of cast. If you're following the rebel side of things, you can have multiple different aliens from a ton of different cultures, and I want that so much. Not just because of the storytelling proposition, but because they look cool, man. They look amazing. Like you actually see how the magazine works with the concussion missiles. The missiles come out, out of the slots and stuff that you might see on the nose. But how does that magazine work? Does it go up from the base of the ship? Does it go from this side? Does it go from that side? And we find out in these kinds of books. You get to figure out where the magazines are. You get to figure out where look, they've got port gyro stabilizer right here. That's what this big blue bulb thing is. And so if it's got a port gyro stabilizer, then it's probably got a starboard stabilizer right there. And we know that this is we now have a new corporation. Well, probably not a new corporation, but Novala Dex K88 Event Horizon sublight engine. So we've got another new corporation or another new weapons manufacturer or engine manufacturer in the galaxy. You've got different laser generators, the cooling sleeve. Like you've kind of like the thing that I love about these books is that they tell us how the universe works, but not so much so that it transcends into hard sci-fi. You can kind of figure out how different things work. You can figure out where different, like how different components work, like the laser cannon, like the concussion missile magazine, like the stabilizers, like the gyro stabilizers, and how the engines work and who made the engines. But it's not going to try and explain the physics of things. And, it's so good. Kuat designers developed the original. I didn't know that Kuat made the original R-22s. The R-22s were the predecessors to the RZ-1s. Prototypes as a replacement for the Republic's Aether Sprite Starfighter. I don't know what the Aether Sprite Starfighter is. If I can find a picture of it, I'll pop it up on the screen right here. But sold the initial batch to the planet Tamuzian. After the Empire rejected mass production of the craft, the Rebel cells acquired several R-22s and stripped them down to boost the fighter's speed and acceleration in an effort to counter the Empire's new TIE interceptors. After these so-called RZ-1s played a key role in the Alliance victory at Endor, Kuat resurrected its forgotten prototype to create the RZ-2, standardizing years of field modifications and making the chassis slimmer and longer to yield even more speed. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Like, they explain why it looks a little bit different. They explain the evolution of the design in these books. It's so, so good. Black One, Poe, could you stop blowing up your X-Wings, please? That'd be nice. Even if I'm not as big of a fan of the T-70 X-Wings as I was of the T-65s from the original trilogy, I don't know. The split engine intake things just look weird to me. I don't know. Like, it just looks like... While like the A-Wing looks better with its redesign, and yeah, they probably redesigned it just to make it look a little bit different, but it looks cooler. It makes it not look any better to me, and so it just feels like, oh, they made a change to it. Okay, cool, I guess. Resistance transport pod, that's where Rose and Finn got their parking ticket in. What's this? The Vigil. When Gallifrey Yards went bankrupt, the Empire engineered its takeover by Kuat Drive Yards, one of the regime's most staunch backers. KDY, Kuat Drive Yards, married existing Gallifrey designs with elements of the Nebulon frigate line to create a series of cargo frigates, complementing cargo capacity with basic defenses against pirates. The resulting ships, dubbed the Vakbior class, fared poorly, and many of them were dumped on the secondary market, where ironically they became a favored craft of pirate bands. Resistance commandos captured the Vigil from pirates in a battle off the Chowasdron Shoals. I think that's it. Chassidron. Yeah, Chowasdron Shoals. Okay, so the Vigil, these Vakbior class cargo frigates, are huge, but they've got an incredibly small crew complement. I mean, they're, almost 500 meters long, but they only got a crew of 26, which is pretty insane. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's a cargo ship. It's meant to carry cargo and not very many people. But armored guardians? Within his throne room on board the Supremacy, Snoke's Praetorian Guards are his final line of defense. These sinister, silent warriors mercilessly cut down any who threaten their master. Okay, well, they didn't work. They didn't work. But here is the one that I was so excited for. I always love the fold-out ones because there's double the information on them. All right, so let's see whether or not I can do this without ruining my own book. But I'm kind of having to fold these in to have them all show up in camera. But that's something that I love about the Supremacy. As much as I hate the class designation of Mega Destroyer Supremacy, just call it the Supremacy. If it's the first of its class, you've got the Nimitz class aircraft carriers. So the first one was called the Nimitz. So why don't you just call it the Supremacy class destroyers? Whatever. But one thing that I loved about this is that it's not just meant to be a massive weapons platform. It's meant as basically a mobile fleet yard too. It's a training ground. It's a factory. It is a dry dock. That's one thing here. External Star Destroyer docking stations, so they can dock first order ships in these little slats, and then basically have them in dry dock, which is awesome. It's just, it makes the world feel more real, feel more visceral, like there's moving parts to it. And that's the thing that Star Wars captured really well with A New Hope, where it feels like a used universe. And this does more for that. It provides more context for that kind of stuff. So one thing that I love about how they use their language and stuff, superlatives are dangerous in a galaxy that has seen civilizations rise and fall over the millennia, but the Supremacy may be the largest warship ever built. They're leaving ground open for maybe there's going to be another big warship later on in 10 years further on down the timeline, or maybe far in the past. There was a mega-sized ship that did this same sort of thing, like a Starforge, maybe? I'm just saying. Crew 2.25 million personnel, including officers, stormtroopers, gunners, vehicle engineers, factory workers, technical specialists, and communication staff. I like how they don't even list how many weapons it has. Weapons: thousands of heavy turbo lasers, anti-ship missile batteries, heavy ion cannons, and tractor beam projectors. So does it have thousands of each of those, or does it thousands if you combine all of them? I'm going to guess it's thousands of each. And down here at the bottom of this page, we get to see the best possible explanation for where the First Order homeworld is. Mobile capital. Despite entreaties from commanders and allies alike, Supreme Leader Snoke has refused to designate a world as his regime capital. Either in the sectors claimed by the First Order or the unknown regions, the First Order's future is not to dominate a lonely corner of the Outer Rim or rule worlds beyond the galactic frontier, but to restore the Empire's stolen domain and build upon its triumphs. Until that goal is achieved, the regime's capital will travel with its master. So yes, the Supremacy was the capital of the First Order. And that makes me interested to see how, like, what was Snoke's plan? That paragraph gives us hints that it's going to be that his plan was to make Coruscant or Malachor 5 or Corellia or one of the other core worlds, or maybe a mythical world like Tython from Legends, to be his new domain, to be his new capital, once they achieved the military success. But now that Snoke's gone, I'm wondering what Kylo's going to do. What's Kylo going to do with essentially a disorganized fleet of randos just kind of running around trying to take control of the galaxy to rally it behind what leader? It just, episode 9, hurry up. Okay, so there's not too much new from the original Force Awakens cross sections book. For what it's worth, I absolutely adore the First Order Star Destroyers, the Resurgent class Star Destroyers. I love these things so much. Yeah, okay, they've got a little bit of a underbite. I don't remember. The front jaw sticking a little bit too far out. I don't care. I don't care at all, because from front on or from any angle, they still look amazing. Even when you do notice the weird way that the bottom half of the hull kind of juts out past the top half of the hull, it still looks incredibly intimidating. It looks like a military vessel as opposed to, like the original Imp 2 Star Destroyers, or or even the Banking Clan frigates from the Clone Wars era. It almost kind of starts to make... It feels like the Star Destroyer design is going back towards the Venator class Star Destroyers, where they were purpose-built for military fighting, not necessarily just to intimidate people into not fighting in the first place. But for what it's worth, there is one new ship that I love so much, and that is the First Order Dreadnought. The Mandator 4 class Siege Dreadnought. I know it blew up a little bit too easy, but it's huge. It is practically 7.5 kilometers long. And it has cannons that are literally as big around as like a small town. It's just a ship with massive, massive guns. And I love that so much. And this one ship makes me want a new Empire at War game, an RTS or a turn-based space strategy game, because I want to use this. I want to drop it into the battlefield, and I want to blast away some capital ships with it. Damn it. Ugh. EA, either give up the contract or make me an RTS, please. Canto Bight police speeders, I don't know. As much as I appreciate Canto Bight from The Last Jedi as a story plot point, I think I enjoy it more than a lot of people do. But the design for the police forces in this, I don't know, I'm just like, it just isn't super inspiring to me. I do like the kind of samurai look that their helmets have, and it does. And now that I'm looking at it on this, it does look very similar to the droid speeders that we saw in Episode 1 and in the Clone Wars. The only issue is that off the bat, oh, there they are. There's the guns. Okay, I was like, but where were the guns? I know that they were shooting and stuff. Multi-setting laser cannons can be set for stun to kill. Well, when they're practically 30 caliber gun. Okay, whatever. Either way, I still really appreciate the design. Like, for what it's worth, outside of the police force, the CBPD designs, I just love everything that happened in Canto Bight, which, speaking of which, if memory serves me right, yes, the luxury speeders. Really? Really? Like, try Vanquish. Okay, that sounds kind of Aston Martin-y. Solar Nova. Okay, that sounds kind of Audi-ish and even looks kind of like an Audi. Really? Don't do that. You guys need to learn what British slang is. Come on. Like, you got two good named ones, and then you got one that's just kind of, I don't know, Street Boss 50-50. Really? Street Boss 50-50. And Growler. Come on, learn what British humor, learn what British slang is, please. Just look up Growler on the Urban Dictionary in the British version or something. What's the British slang term for growler or whatever? Just look that up and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But then you also have, like, you know, when Snow calls Ray full of spunk. Don't, come on. Britain has got lots of Star Wars fans. Come on, writers, get on it. I love you guys, but just gonna say, come get on it. Either way, I still love the way that it looks. I love the way that every single one of these looks. This actually looks almost like a pod racer. I don't remember which pod racer it was, but that looks almost exactly like those pod racer engines. Just obviously much more shiny and cleaned up, but like with like the grill and stuff on the engine cowl, like the air intake here, and just like the lines and stuff on these external engines, these outboard engines, they look a lot like the pod racer engines from, I don't remember which racer it was, from episode 1 Racer, the old N64 game. It looks a lot like that. Oh, so that's what the Libertine was. It was the crazy luxury yacht ship thing that they stole from wherever. Does it have anything that explains who owned it? Seeking diversion. The Libertine's owner is... Ugh. I'm not sure whether or not you guys can read this, but Korfe with an accent mark. Korfe? Yeah, Korfe. And then here's the difficult part. BENNUX hyphen capital AI. Bunexi? 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 Benue? Whatever. Born into wealth on Selenon, and a top-ranking manager for... I cannot read these Star Wars names today, can I? For the Sinar Jameis Corporation, Benuxi has made a fortune selling starfighters that fail the First Order's stringent quality checks to nervous star systems, seeking to bolster their defenses. Frustrated by a failed deal with Zagurian slavers, Benixu ordered his pilots to divert to Cantonica for a restorative night on the town. And then his ship got stolen and he can deal with it. For what it's worth, I really wish we'd gotten more exterior shots of the Libertine. I really, really do. Because it looks absolutely phenomenal. And this picture doesn't even do it too much justice. You know, you've got, you know, you can see like how the engine turbines work, and overclocked forward repulsors allow for nimble micro maneuvers, so it's very maneuverable. That's what these discs are. They're basically generating repulsor fields. But like, I wish if we could just get like a straight up picture of exactly what it looks like. That's probably my only complaint about the cinematography in The Last Jedi, is that we didn't really get a very good look at a lot of the ships. Like, we didn't get a great look at what the Supremacy looked like when it wasn't getting cut in half or cut into thirds, whatever. We didn't get a great look at what the Raddus looked. Well, okay, we got a good look at the Raddus, but we didn't get a great look at what the Ninka looks like, or even necessarily what the Dreadnought looks like. We just saw parts of the Dreadnought. And the Libertine kind of suffers from that as well, where we don't get to see exactly what it looks like. Even in the books, we don't get to see. In the source books like this one, we don't get to see. I'll have to check the visual dictionary and see whether or not there's a good picture in there. Now, the ATM-6s. These things I love so much because just like the Dreadnought, it's just something with a really big gun that's designed to shoot the really big gun. Like, that's all it is. It looks like it's just a bigger AT-AT, but if you weren't watching any, like, the Star Wars... not the right way. But if you weren't looking at any of the Star Wars shows, like special, sneak peeks at Last Jedi vehicles or vehicles of Last Jedi or whatever, that is actually a massive turbo laser. And basically that's the reason why it has those big, massive front feet and why it walks the way it does, because it's designed to basically Blastoise, the Pokemon, basically hunch its back forward, hunch its back a little bit, and then fire that turbo laser in order to, provide sustained bombardment and cover fire. Ugh, so good. It's a siege weapon, and I love siege weapons. First Order Walkers, ATST. Okay, so they haven't changed the name of the ATST into something else. I actually really like the look of the First Order ATST. The first time I got a good look of it was in the Battlefront 2 game. It doesn't seem like it has any new capabilities. It's got a concussion grenade launcher. It's got a light blaster cannon. It's got its chin-mounted guns. It doesn't have any extra joints or any weird new modifications. But just aesthetically wise, I like the long slit as opposed to the two eyes. I don't know. Like, this makes it look a little bit more sinister, a little bit more less cartoony. Like, I guess that's my only problem with ATSTs in general, like from the original trilogy, is they looked a little bit cartoony with their two, eyes set far apart. I like the long visor style look. And no, they did not change the name of the AT-ATs. They're still called the same thing. They just have kind of that flatter head. Their head is a little bit smashed. It's more of like a clamshell head than, a big old box on top of the other box. Or connected to the other box, the body. It doesn't look like it's changed any way either wise. I mean, size-wise, it's about the same. Length of 24 meters and height of 22 meters. That sounds about right. That sounds about right from what I remember of the original trilogy visual dictionary that I've got. This is something I was really excited to look at in general, just because I didn't quite get a sense of scale for these until we've opened up this book. Because I wasn't quite sure, like, it looked like it could hold anywhere between 50 people and 200 people. I couldn't quite, I don't know, just, there was never like somebody standing close enough near to one on crate. You didn't quite get a sense of scale of the ship on the Radis in the landing bay, in the hangar bay on the Radis, the reserve hangar bay, whatever. You didn't quite get a feeling about how big these ships are. Ooh, excuse me. You didn't get a good feeling about what these ships looked like and how big they were. And now we do get to see that, yeah, okay, they could probably, if they wanted to squeeze 100 people in, they probably could, but it looks like they've got somewhere around 25 people, 30 people in there right now. And ooh, that's interesting. I didn't notice that. It looked like in the movie, it looked like they had a separate cockpit right up here at the front. Or maybe, kind of raised up in the back or something like that. But it looks like it's actually like kind of a side seat sort of thing. Like it's kind of offset to the side there. Instead of it having like a bulkhead leading like this and then having a doorway right here into a cockpit right here, it looks like they're actually surrounded by everyone else in the transport. I wonder what these were originally designed for. I mean, obviously they were originally designed as a transport, but were they designed as a military transport, or were they designed, because they don't look like they're military transports, are they designed basically as buses on Coruscant and Corellia and stuff? From fairing equipment, the resistance relies on transports, considering that they're called U-55 load lifters, these transports are unarmed, slow to maneuver, and incapable of FTL, faster than light travel, or hyperspace. Transport pilots know they're easy prey for enemies. and rely on fighter escorts to travel the space lanes in safety. The Resistance has larger transports, including a few ancient GR-75 cargo haulers. Okay, yeah, I remember those. Simple, maintained, useful. So, venerable line of transports commonly used across the galaxy by everyone, from planetary security forces to corporations to government ministries. Yeah, I wish if they would explain what their actual origin purpose was. Like, what were they designed for? Other than just cargo haulers. Were they designed for civilian use? Were they designed for military use? Were they designed as training ships? Because, like, you got a couple mentions here about, them being used as flight trainers in military academies and the merchant marine academies. That's great, but I wonder what they originally were designed for, and it doesn't really say. It just got a little blurb here about how their cloaking mechanism works. Real quick, one thing that I wanted to touch on is another connection to Cobalt Squadron, the bafflers. Those were designed by Rose Tico, where they don't actually make the ship invisible. They just make it invisible on enemy sensors. It masks the engine signature, which is really what's important in space. I mean, if you think about it, the only thing that's important is really making sure that their sensors can't see you. It's really hard to see movement in space. It's really hard to see other ships in space that aren't, within a few hundred kilometers of you. So, as long as you stay outside of a few hundred kilometers, you're pretty much safe. And Rose designed these devices, special purpose for what happens in the Cobalt Squadron novel. So go check that out when you get the chance. It's a pretty good novel, and it's pretty short too. The ski speeder. Yes. Now, is there anything in here that explains whether or not Finn would have made it or would not have made it to the battle iron cannon before Rose saved him? I need to know. Source book. Okay, so after looking through this, I couldn't find any explanation, so I guess that's just going to have to be a headcanon argument that we're going to be having for the next 30 or 40 years about whether or not Finn would have made it to the battering ram cannon before he was destroyed himself. We won't know until then, but oh well, or if ever. But either way, while looking through this, there is some pretty interesting stuff in here. It turns out that these were originally designed for piloting in asteroid fields. So they're meant to be designed in lower gravity environments. And that's the reason why it bounced so much when Finn came out of the thing, because the repulsor lifts are trying to overcompensate for the ridiculously heavy gravity. Or at least to what the ship is perceiving as ridiculously heavy gravity. Either way, I still love the look of them, although I still have an issue in Battlefront 2 when I'm playing it. I still feel like when I'm looking at these ski speeders from the back, it still feels like this should be the cockpit and this should be the engine. I know that Verpine design, it actually mentions up here in Family Resemblance, that this is based on Verpine design. I'm not sure whether or not it says whether or not it was designed by Verpines, but it looks very Verpine-y with its outriggers, kind of like the V-19 Torrent, or the B-Wing does. The B-Wing being actually a Moncala design based on Verpine designs. Anyways, whatever. But the Verpine designs always throw me off. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, I cannot stand the look of the V-19 Torrents. I'll have a picture of that pop up on the screen for you. I can't stand the way those look at all. But I love the way the B-Wing looks. And I'm still kind of caught in the middle. I think right now I'm still stuck on whether or not I like these, based on the fact that I want to love them so much, because I love the shot of I love the idea of that sequence in The Last Jedi where you've got all these pilots hopping, flying these basically ships that are falling apart, and they're charging at the enemy war machine. It just, it's so exciting. Like, yeah, it's so good. And it lets the rebel fanboy in me go wild. I love it so much. And overall, it looks like we're at the end of the book. overall, I felt this was a ton of fun. There's a lot of this that I imagine that I'm going to cut a lot of this out. I've actually been recording for like 2 or 3 hours now, but I need to get ready and get to work. Either way, I love this book. I recommend that you guys pick it up if you can. I think it's only like 15 or 20 bucks on Amazon right now, or that's the recommended price on it. Printed in US. Usually it has like a recommended price down here at the barcode, but it just says printed in USA. So I don't know. Whatever. I'm not sure what the recommended price is, but either way, I still love this book. I love all these cross-section books, and maybe I'm looking at it through nostalgic glasses. But Jason Fry did a really good job with this, and I'm wondering whether or not, I believe Jason Fry is doing the novelization too, which is coming out in March, I believe. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, I'm going to get out of here, guys. I got to get to work. I will see you guys in the next video. And as always, may the Force be with you. Take care.